probably not. Okay, so let's go. We're running live here again. So this one's called local notifications. Well, we're going to send notifications or note to self. We're going to wake ourselves up. So the tutorial demonstrates how to add local notifications to your iPhone app. And this started back in iOS 4. And I'm kind of curious to see if this will work. So this is more of an experimentation as well to see if it works with iOS 7. So we'll see what happens. So the notifications that originated from the phone itself as opposed to outside of the phone. So we can send a notification to ourselves on the phone. And the notification might be something like, you know, wake up or something, or no, you're not going to catch that one. Or go to lunch, or it's time to leave, or something like that. So we can set a reminder for ourselves. So the app is active in the notifications and will go to the did receive local notifications method. And that's the app delegate that's going to do that for us. So we can send notifications to the app, or we can send notifications to the phone. So on Android, that's when you put your finger on the top, or actually on iPhone as well. You put your finger on the top and you get notifications that show up. Now they revamped this in iOS 7, so I'm kind of curious to see if this tutorial will work, but we'll see. So go ahead and open up a single view application and call it notifications. So let's go create another iPhone app, single view. And I'm going to call this one notifications, or I think just call it notify. It's a little shorter than that. So my app's called notify. And press finish. Excuse me, create. And then I just saved mine to the desktop. You can save it anywhere you want. And so now we have another app that's opened up. So we can go to the storyboard and we can start now basically populating it out. So I'm going to click on my attribute inspector, change my background to some lovely color of some sort. I'm going to change it to green. There we go. Got my green app going on here again. And let's see what we need here. So we're going to put a couple items on here. So the screen should look like this here. Only text fields and buttons are important. So create a notification, a little title for the app, 2 text fields, and a button. So let's make our little user interface look like this with a date and a time on it. So let's see. I'll do it this way so I can see what I'm doing. Well, here, I'll just do this. So I'll label for the top. And so it's going to be notifications app. There we go. And let's see what I guess. Date and time, or date and text. So this would be date, which is going to set our date and our time, and then our text. So let's just do here, text. And then 2 text boxes for the date and the text. So I'm going to here, text box, text field. So on a particular date and time, we're going to send a message to ourselves. And we'll also put it in the NS log so we can sort of see that it has been sent, just in case we can't test it in the emulator for some reason. And this is going to be a little cheat sheet on the format. So it's going to be month, day, year, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, hours, and minutes. I'm going to move this down a little bit, make it look a little bit better. And then we have a button down here that says create notice, or create notification. So let's do that. Button down here. Create notification. Okay, there's my beautiful app. Hopefully yours looks something like this. Do you guys need more time? Yeah. Okay, look. You guys are slower than me, I guess. I don't know. Okay, let's. I'll pause this for a second, give you some time. You guys can actually finish all this stuff up when we have some time later. So you can keep working on these tutorials if you want. Okay, so this is what the our lovely interface looks like. So let me fix my screen up a little bit. I'm going to open up my little tuxedo icon and switch it over to the view controller. So now I have viewcontroller.h out there. So let's take a look. Oops, that doesn't look so good. Let's get rid of that screen. And let's look at this screen. This one is the one with the tutorial on it. Okay, so we're going to write the text fields and the buttons, wire the text fields and the buttons to the viewcontroller.h file. So we have the two text fields, the date and the text. So we're going to call it date and text, these two guys here. So wire those two properties. Let's do that first. It's this one here. This is the date. So I'm going to control drag it here, and I'm just going to call it date. And then this one here is the text. So I'm going to control drag it and call this one TEXT, text. Now I have my date and my text. Because I have that, I can synthesize it. So if I want to do it, actually I do it right now. I just go to the M file here and go at synthesize and then put here date, comma, text. Okay, so we also have to do the button, so I'm going to switch it back to the viewcontroller.h file. And don't worry, I'll remind you about the synthesize in a few minutes as well if you didn't do that part just a second ago. But now I'm going to take the button here and wire the touch event. So I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to do the touch down events. And what am I going to call this one? Let me take a look at the cheat sheet over here. This IB action in here is called create. So we'll call it create. So over here, call this one create. And I'm going to change the ID to UI button, just so I'm consistent. And then press connect. So now I see the touchdown on the view controller. See, that's the weird thing. They added view controller to this here, which is really weird. Anyway, so now it's called create on my button, touchdown events. Okay, so let's take a look here now. We also need to wire the did end on exit event for both of the two text fields to a remove keyboard method. So we're going to resign the first responder on the keyboards. So we can actually do this. We can come up here and make it for one and then drag it to the other. So if I right mouse click on the text field, the first one, and I'm going to drag the did end on exit, and I'm going to call this one remove keyboard. And I'm going to change the type to UI text field. So now I have the did end on exit. It's called remove keyboard. Now I can do this here. I can come back up to the second text button. I'm going to show you something else here. I can take and do this actually and wire it to the same method. So now I'm going forward instead of backwards from it, if that makes any sense. So now I have them both wired to the same, because why am I going to have multiple, and I've seen this before and I've often wondered why people do it, multiple resign first responder methods from multiple text spaces when really the method's just going to get rid of the keyboard, so why not just make one of them? We can also check the return type and change it to done. If I go over to the attribute inspector on the side and down here where it says return type, change it to done for both of the two text boxes. I don't believe I have to do this anymore. I think it's done automatically, but you could do that as well if you wanted to. Did I go too fast? Are we caught up? Okay, maybe. So let's see. So that was the remove keyboard method. Now we're going to open up the view controller, add your line to synthesize the date and the time. So up here, if I change it to viewcontroller.m, at the top I'm synthesizing date, comma, text. Excuse me, I said time, I meant text. So I have date and text synthesized. And now on the bottom I have my create button, and then I have my my remove keyboard. On my remove keyboard I can actually just type in sender space resign first responder and actually fill that in without even having to cut and paste it. Sender is going to be either this text box or this text box. So when you're doing this, you could put the name of the text box in there and then resign that one. But if I wanted to work on both, I just say sender. Sender is kind of the generic word to use for that. So, and we're going to see this in another step coming up, but I just figured that's what I would normally do if I were doing this like myself right now. But we'll see what happens here. Actually, here it is here, sender, resign, first responder. So if you don't want to type it in, just cut and paste this, copy and paste resign, first responder. And we'll just do it right now as a group. Put it into the remove keyboard method that's in the .m file. Okay, so now I'm going back to the create method because we still need to fill that one in. So let's see. On the create, oops, let's find the tutorial here. So I'm going to go back to the app delegate in a few minutes because I'm already in the view controller. The create method is right down beneath it. So just to verify that the button called the method, we're going to put an NS log on the bottom. It says create method was called. So we're going to log what's going on here. And then we're going to take and we're going to create an NS string from the date.text and an NS string from the text.text. So the two text fields, we're going to take the text, that's the property that's set in those two text fields, and we're going to copy them to local NS strings. And then we're going to format it. So we're going to take and create an NS date formatter that's going to format in month, day, year, hours, and minutes from the string. So we're going to take and create a date format, and then we're going to create an NS date from the string using the date formatter, using the formatter that we created. So we take this string, we format it like a date, and then we copy it to a date object. Because what we really need is a date object out of that, but we're getting a string from the text field. So we're going to get an instance of the UI application, because it's the application that's sending the notification. So we get an instance of the UI application, we're going to call it app, and then we're going to create a notification and then send its parameters. So the UI local notification, this is the part I'm curious if it's going to work or not, because this has changed. So is it not working? Or we'll see if it works. I want to try it actually. Does it trigger an error when you do it? No.
I received the notification, but I didn't see it.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
The dates are incorrect.
The date format is incorrect. So
The format is coming in, but
okay, we'll see what happens there. And at least we could be able to see it maybe in the log and see what's going on with it. But we're going to create the notification and set its parameters from the local notification object. And this is the part, because of iOS 7, I'm kind of curious about. If the notification is the notification fire date is equal to alert time, and the alert time, well, that's going to be the time that we're going to fire this notification that we've set in the date. Then we're going to set the time zone and then repeat the interval with the alert body. I don't know if the emulator actually triggers a date. And did you set the app delegate? Did you have to actually give the app delegate permission? Okay. So let's see. I'm going to follow through just to see what happens. I'm going to put the body of this into the create method, and then I'm going to go back and make an addition, to the app delegate. This is weird. It doesn't copy. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get this to copy. Okay, so I think I've got it to copy here. So I'm going to copy this method here and stick it in the code for the create method. And I think I've got an extra bracket at the end, but let's just see. I do. So let's see. Wow. I got a lot of extra stuff in here. I've got some word wrapping, so let me fix that. And then date we set. Let's get rid of that. No. Let's see. That might be a comment, actually. No, I'm not quite sure. Let's just take a look at the original here. That's the comment here, so let's see. So I got some interesting word wrapping that happened here. So let's see. And then after the if notification, let's take a look here. If notification, so it appears that I've got some extra lines on the bottom here already in notification text. Alright, let's take a look here. Unused variable text, yes it is. I think I'm missing the end of it. No? Let's just compare it real quick here. I think I actually have the project also saved in a Xcode project. So let's just see. Yeah, I don't have this part down here. Notification repeat interval. And then I don't have this stuff here. So let's just take this here, put it under here. Now I think I should be in good shape for this method, except for I've got this commented out for some strange reason. Let's just put it in here. Okay, good. All right, let's see what happens. My commenting and my word wrapping from cutting and pasting wasn't quite working the way I wanted it to. But, let's see, if we do have a problem, it is most likely having to do with some word wrapping of a line of code that turned into a comment, but we'll see. Okay, so now I need to make some changes to the app delegate to give the app delegate control over the notifications that we're going to send out. So I skipped over it, so I'm going to come back to it because I was making changes in the view controller.m file. We're going to open up the appdelegate.m and we're going to implement the method called application did receive local notification, because the app needs to receive the local notification that we're going to send so it can print out, essentially give the log file the message that it received it. So the message gets called if a notification is received while your app is running, so we can catch the notification, because we're trying to do is send a note to self essentially through the notification. So we're going to do it in the log. So we're going to receive the message and print it in the log, because we're not going to be able to see it on the emulator. And then add the following method to the appdelegate.m file. So this is going to be in an addition. So let's go ahead and open up, just make sure I don't have this already. Did receive local notification. So I'm going to open up my appdelegate.m file. And well, now what I'm looking at is did finish launch. The application will resign active. Did enter background. I don't have anything on receiving notification, so I'm going to stick it right in here. So now I have the NS log that's gonna work when the notification is received. And I know I just blew it here. Probably took something out. Let's just do undo typing. There we go. I took the dot out. So I put the method in here in the app delegate. So let's take a look. So that when a message comes through the notification, I'm going to print the notification received and put this in the log. And it's going to be the alert body of the message that's being sent, or that was received. So we put the first responder in there to clear the keyboard out. Now we're done. We're going to need to build and run to try it out, and make sure you set the time to at least a minute in the future. And for easier testing, we can put the code in the view did load method of the view controller to populate the date field with the current date and time, and then we can just increase it. So I'm going to take this little cheat sheet here so that I can populate the field. So if we run it right now, we have to type it in ourselves. But if I put this code in the view did load, it'll populate the field with the current date and time. Allow me just to increase it by a minute or two or second or two so I can easily test it. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go into the viewcontroller.m and in the view did load method right here. Right underneath the super view did load, I'm going to add the code in here to populate the current date and time. So now when I run it, I should see the current date and time show up in the time field. So I have an easier editing, hopefully. And then we have to look at the log actually to see this thing work. So if this was the current date and time, so this is, let's just set this one here to 17. And then I'm going to put here testing from app. So down here on the bottom it says notification received testing from app set for date null. Well, okay. Let's take a look here. Excuse me. No, I felt like I had to sneeze. Let's see. I'm going to run this again so I get the current date and time, actually. Excuse me. Something in this room is making me sneeze. Okay. So let's see. Now it's 11:10, so I'm going to put in here testing again. So receive set for date null. Testing again, set for date. Okay, so let's just change this one here to 19. The date is coming out to null. So I'm wondering, let's just give it a few minutes here, actually, a few seconds. I don't have the current time. This is going to be a terrible thing to try and test, actually. And we're not going to see the notification on the emulator either. What I'm hoping to do is see it down here, but I don't think it's actually going to work. So I could be wrong. Did you get yours to work?
The problem could be with the time zone that we have.
Ah, the time zone could possibly be the problem.
Because every time it adds, it gets the GMT. So.
It thinks it's 1900. Is that the hours and the minutes? What time is it now? The time zone on the emulator. And the time zone. Yeah, because the notification should work. I believe it's the time. It's probably the current time is either not going to match the GMT time. So let's take a look here. What I need to do, you know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to do another thing here for testing purposes. Let's see. I'm going to put a text box here. I'm going to have a button that's going to change a label to the current time to run that code so I can see what time it is on the current time and then set the timer to see if I can do that. Although I don't know if the current time is going to be the same time on the emulator. So that's a good point.
We have this local time zone instead of using the default time zone.
Yeah, but I think it's a default. But I don't know what the default time is on our emulator.
It's the time.
It's that time?
From your Mac.
Excuse me? Oh, it's time from the Mac, you think? Good question. That's a good question to ask. Let me just try something real quick here. I'm going to see if I can simulate this. I'm just going to put a button and a label out here. So this button's going to set the time. Show time. Show. And this label here is going to be my time. So let's see. Let's see. So this is going to be showtime. Showtime. There we go. And then this method here. This button is going to show my time. Show me time. So let's see. So I'm going to pull from the app. Let's see, view did load. Here we go. And then on the show me time method, oops, where did it go? Show me time, here it is here. What's the create? Hold on 1 second. Let me go back up to, here we go. Show me time. So let's see. The hours, minutes, second time zone is set for GMT minus 25. That's the key. What time zone is that? And create a string here. And then this one's going to be that label I created called show me time. Show time.text is today's time. So let me run it. That way I can keep refreshing the time. Not that it's going to help me at all, but at least I can refresh the time and then change the time.
I'm getting the notification, but it's printing the log. Not in the
Hold on 1 second. The notification is working in the log.
The
It should
log.
work in the log. It's
Not
not
in
going to
the-
work on the emulator, but it'll work in the log. It's disabled on. You can't get notifications on the emulator.
Not even on the phone.
You should be able to get it on the phone. Yeah. Interesting. It should show in the log. The log is not going to show on the phone. The notification should show on the phone. But again, I'm not quite sure it's going to work with iOS 7. So, let's see. Testing the notification. So let's see. Whoops, it's not refreshing it. It's wonderful. See, I'll give it a few minutes and see if it actually triggers. Of course, it's hard to tell. Oops, wait a minute, something just moved. Notification received. Testing the notification set. No, I don't know. This is going to be terrible to try and test. But it's in the emulator. The notification is not going to show in the emulator. The notification will show in the log if you're running it on the emulator. On the phone itself, if you download it, and I think it's still out there actually. It's a good question. Let's see if it is still out there. I put the finished product out there. Let's just take a quick look here. Oops, wrong class. Hold on. Should be notification solution. This one does work, but if this one doesn't work on your phone, it's because of the iOS 7. Something has changed on that. But this one has, I've tested this one before and I know it does work. But again, it's an older project type. Oh, now it's going to ask me to upgrade it. This might actually tell me whether or not it's going to work or not. Take advantage of features of the 5. Yeah, this is prior to 5. So I'm going to skip it actually and run it this way. So it should be running it on an older emulator. So let's see. The notification, let's see. Test. So this one was set, but this date is going to be wrong. So let's just go here. Let's see if it's returned. So this is what we're watching down here, actually. Create method was called. Notification was received. It was set for date. But again, probably not going to be able to test this adequately. So, but the older project does work. Whether it will work with the current Xcode and the current emulator. This is not the current emulator. This is the old one. This one does work. So you might want to try this one on your phone and see if this one works. Which, if it doesn't, it's got to be an iOS 7 difference, is what I'm thinking.
I mean, the did receive local notification is not firing.
Oh, so I think something has changed with iOS 7 and it's not going to be compatible. So if you have an older, this was made on 5, I believe, or 4 or 5. So if you have an older phone, you probably could use it, depending upon whether or not you've got your phone connected and you've got a developer account and you're able to copy it onto the phone. So. One of the things that did change significantly were those notifications. So, anyway, the tutorial was either going to work or not. I didn't think it was going to work at all, actually, which is interesting. It partially does work, but you see, now we have file owner over here. This is the old interface. I sort of like this better, actually. So, but long story short, you could possibly play around with it and get it to work. Whether or not it's going to work on the emulator is kind of skeptical. I don't know. I'm really skeptical about it anyway. And whether or not it would actually work on the phone is kind of up in the air. Notifications, for some strange reason, you have to keep sending them in order for them to be received. So if you just send one notification to begin with, the chances of that actually occurring kind of slim, even if it does work. So it's not what I'd call one of the best features to program in this environment. In fact, the ones on Android work a little bit more reliably, actually. So I'll leave you with that. That was the one on notifications. Again, you know, it's a very hard application to test due to the timing. I mean, especially if you're working with hours and minutes. Actually, the hours is what I was changing, so that was probably why it wasn't working, actually. Now that I think about it, let me change the minutes. I'll just move the minutes up by 1. I know that this old one used to work, which is kind of odd. So now I just realized I was changing the minutes. I was changing the hours, so it's not going to wait. So this is hours and minutes. So if I change this one to 8, actually, and just put something in there, let's see if that one actually works. So in a minute, it should come back up. So whether I'm patient enough to last a minute to wait for my notification, that's the big question. Now, I'm obviously not patient enough to wait. Well, I'll just wait. Let's see what happens. Huh?
However, in the MSRA, it's pulling the date as null. Set for date.
Yeah, it's going to print it out as null. It's not going to print out the date format down here, but the date format is put in there. This one does work, actually. It always comes out with null because it's not printing the date correctly. Oh, it worked. So this one did work. So I just didn't wait long enough. See, if you didn't notice, it just put this thing out here at 23:28, which was the time. So this might work on yours. I don't know if it's going to work. It's on GMT time. So the time on your phone is probably different than the time in the app. But this one did work. Put it right here. Actually, the good question is, let me try the other one now. Let's see if I get the same response now. Now I'm just testing it. This is the one I knew worked, actually. So let me try back to notify, the one on iOS 7. And let's see if I can be patient enough to see if that one will work. Requires patience because I have to sit there for a minute, which is a very long time for me. All right, so I'm going to change this one here to 9, and I'm going to put here last test, and then I'm going to send this notification. So last test got sent. Oh, wait a minute.
You got it.
I got it. I just got it a second ago. So maybe the seconds were so that the minute just flipped over. So that one does work. It does work. Okay, so that notification worked. So now I feel a little bit better about that. At least I know the notification feature still works. The app itself could probably use a better interface to get it to work. The emulator is never going to show the notification on the emulator. That's why we put it in the log. You'd have to actually have service on your phone and have the engine on the notifier, working notifier, actually deliver the message to you. All right, so that's good. And at least I know now this one still works on the works on iOS 7. All right, so I'll leave you with that, actually. And let me stop this video.